Tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about who you are and what you do and how you got into this.
Yeah, it's been so exciting because I come from a different world, not the online world. So this is just totally a new thing for me and incredibly exciting and life changing. So, as we said earlier, I'm from the UK. As you can tell by the accent, but I live in Wales, in a city part, Newport. It's near Cardiff. And what 3 years ago, my life changed quite dramatically when I was working in a bank and I knew about opportunities that in property to start off without a lot of money and create a business without buying properties initially, but then obviously you create that cash flow, and then you can start buying properties and really sort of build up wealth over time. And I was too scared to start for a long time. And then my mum got ill, and you get those moments of clarity where you can just see things really clearly.
Yeah.
And I could see really clearly that I needed to change my life in quite a big way so that my values in life, like my family, and I can actually live those values. So if she was ill, that I could go and spend a couple of months or 3 months or however long it need be to be with her until she gets better, as opposed to the life I had where I needed to earn that high salary to live a life that I don't have time to enjoy. So that was the moment of clarity that even though I was afraid and worried it might not work out, I decided to, take the jump into business. And that property business, it still amazes me. So that was just 3 years ago, and we built up a really good income from that and got staff in and systemized that business. So we took the turnover within 3 years as new beginners to £400,000. And also within that period, we bought property worth over £1 million. And we've got sort of development plans for the properties. So that was the very, very beginning. And that company is called HMO Heaven, if anyone wants to know more about that. But what then happened is I'm quite a shy person, but I started doing these YouTube videos because I was so amazed, because I thought, well, there's lots of people who are exactly like me, who maybe sometimes in property, I think these training courses come over as quite scammy, or you wonder if it's really applicable to people, like me, who maybe haven't got or who didn't have like connections or a lot of financial wealth in my family or things like that. And I thought, is it really applicable to me? And so I thought, by me saying, well, actually, this is what we did, this is what you can do, this is how it works, people who like me might, be inspired. And I enjoyed doing it because I was so excited about, the opportunity and how things were going, and sharing the challenges as well that we were having as, you become, or you have to become a different person to deliver different kind of results. So I started this YouTube channel, which was called HMO Heaven, and lots of people were interested and excited about it, and they were asking me, do you do coaching or mentoring or this or that? Well, we didn't at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And we would obviously refer them to other people who we knew did do coaching and mentoring and training people in how to do this strategy. But then the same people would come back to us and we'd say, well, did you not go on the course or the training or whatever? Yes, they did, but they only got this part, or they only got that part, or there's no ongoing support. They would just go for the day or two, get all the info. But then when you're implementing it, you need more support. That's when it really counts. And so eventually I thought, well, I could do it. Maybe we could do something better that's for longer, where we give people more support on the way. And that's how the seed of the idea of the online course started.
Okay, that's awesome. So you started getting feedback from this audience of people who are watching your YouTube videos, and yeah, it's interesting. Like it kind of reminds me of how we started Deadline Funnel. Initially, I had this idea that I wanted, surely someone must have solved the whole solution of of having urgency and using deadlines, but doing it in a way that's not scammy, that's authentic, but automated. And and I went around and looked and looked and looked, and there just wasn't anything. So that's the I think you came to kind of a similar realization, is that what people wanted just wasn't out there, and so you thought, hey, why don't I create this? So that's terrific.
Yeah, yeah, and terrific, and kind of scary as well. To
So how long ago did you start with your online course?
Well, it was just January of this year, so it's we're now in September,
Mhm.
so we've been doing this for 9 months, and yeah, it's been fun.
What is something that, if you could tell someone who's just starting out, starting to create their first online course, what sort of advice would you give them?
Okay, well, what I would say is, first of all, there's huge power in a small community. So if you've got a group, whether it's 20 people, 50 people, or even 70, or whatever the number is, who are interested in talking to you about the thing that you're passionate about,
Mhm.
then that's all you need. Um, I think the main thing is just to get started. You don't have to know before you start, because I used to think that other people knew things that I didn't know.
Mhm.
Obviously, that is true, but they didn't know them when they started. They found them out along the way. I think it's a bit like having a baby. You can read all the books you want, you can go to all the classes you want, but you only learn what it's like to be a parent when you are a parent. You
That's so
learn along
true.
the way and you become better. So I think if this is what you want to do, make it a mission of your life, that you cannot get through life without having done it, and make sure that you do it, and just open yourself up to say, I don't know everything, but I can find it out and I can make this work. Everything you want to do has already been done, and somebody out there knows the answer, and you can know it as well.
Hmm. That's really great advice. Really great advice. So how have things been going for you? Why don't you share? I don't know what you're comfortable sharing. You don't have to
Yeah.
share what you shared with us, but how
Yeah.
can you what can you share about, how things have been going so far?
Yeah, well, I'm just going to go back a little step, because sometimes
Yeah.
people think, well, that's okay for her because, she's got this or she's got that. But actually, when we started in January, we sort of started publicizing it a little bit in December
Mhm.
last year. And I started a Facebook group specific to this course, which is called Rent to Rent Kickstarter, and the brand is called Rent to Rent Success. So I started a Facebook group. I didn't want it to be under HMO Heaven, which had other kind of people. I wanted it to be specific to this people, Rent to Rent Success Secrets. So we started a Facebook group just at the end of 2018. And so obviously we started off with 0 people,
Mhm.
but we were putting out really good, valuable content. And I wouldn't say we're not experts on online things, but we've now got 1,700 people in the group. But when we were
Wow.
launching the course initially, we only had a few hundred people in the group.
Mhm.
And then I also started a separate YouTube channel specifically about this business and the idea, and giving people information how to make this idea work for themselves, which is called Rent to Rent Success on YouTube. Subscribe. And Rent to Rent Success on YouTube. And we only started that in February this year. So that's been going, is that 7 months, I think. And we only have we have 440 subscribers. So I just want to lay the baseline, that people know that we only have got a small community. And when we originally first started, we had 600 people on the mailing list as well. Now we've got just over double that, but we haven't been using advertising. It's just all been organic. So that's the background. So what happened was, in January, I was sort of going slightly crazy because I'd written this course. I needed to get it all onto an online platform. I needed to do all these live videos about the course, and be selling online, which is like, very cringy. Um, and I I did all that. We gave ourselves ridiculous deadlines. It was just crazy. And but we got it up and we launched it on the back of a Facebook Live, which we laughingly called, well, we didn't even call it a webinar, but I suppose in some senses it would be a webinar, except there wasn't all those, slides about, you're getting this, you're getting that, you're getting the other. It was like massive value. And then at the end, well, you know what, we're starting a course. Do you want to jump onto it? Jump on.
Hey, it's better to get it going than to get it perfect, right?
Yeah. So we did that, and we thought to ourselves, because we'd sort of read up what other people do, and we were working with a local person who's a coach, Kylie Menz. I will, if anybody wants to know more about Kylie or anything, they can message me. But Kylie had helped to push us. The main part of what Kylie was doing actually is saying, go for it, keep going, don't stop, keep going, don't stop, which we have a lot of motivation ourselves, but I think there is a lot of resistance when you start doing anything new, even though you're motivated to the goal. So I really encourage people to get a coach to push them on, and if they want to get results, more quickly. So we got the course launched, as I say, and we had read up that you just do a beta course and you need to have a few people on it, and then you get the great results for them. And so we thought, well, 12 people is kind of a nice amount to have on this course. And we thought if we could get that, that would be amazing. And we decided to charge it £625 for this beta course. And we got 24 people who wanted to sign up, who signed up. We even had to turn away 6 because we thought, you know what, we can split. We'd already told the people that it was going to be 12. So we split into 2 groups. We had one Facebook group, but the meetings were in 2 groups so that we would be able to commit to our promise, which was 12 people. So we didn't want to take the other 6 because we thought we were already oversubscribed, if you will. But that was it. That's how we started. That was the first thing. So we did that little launch to start off with.
That's terrific. That's terrific. So where did Deadline Funnel come into the picture? How did that come
Right.
into?
Okay. So as you can imagine, it was a lot of energy, a lot of time, emotional energy. I can't describe it because it just felt like as soon as you woke up, you thought, oh my gosh, it's the thought of doing another. We did do another launch as well. And that's where we worked with Jacques Hopkins, the online course guy, who was incredible. And he has a $1 million piano course, which is the most unlikely of topics to be such a successful course. But he's really honed a system where it's all on automated. He's an engineer, or he was an engineer beforehand. And so I heard Jacques' podcast, the Online Course Guy podcast, and I thought, wow, this is incredible. I don't know if I knew about it. I was sort of finding out about it, and I sort of came across to your YouTube's channel, and I thought, oh my goodness. So we just decided to work with Jacques and sort of replicate what he was doing. And originally we did another launch with him, and after that second launch, because I said I wanted to launch live again, and after that I just thought I can't do this again, because as well we have the other business. So I was like full-time on this side of the business doing these launches and wearing myself out. And it's when you really care about something, the emotional toll on it, it's hard to say. You think launching an online course, it doesn't sound emotional, but it's really tiring. So
it can really take over your life, can't it?
Yeah, and we weren't even doing. We decided to do a PLF, product launch formula style launch, with all the videos. So that was a lot of filming and preparation and production and all of that. And also we did a webinar, again the same, and so we got through it, and it was great results. Again, we put the price up to $997, and we had 30 people join us that time. And we just decided, let's make this automated. And I was a bit nervous about that again but working with Jacques was what made it really work for us. I think it would have taken us such a long time, not to work out deadline funnel, because that's quite straightforward, but to just work out everything of how to do the automated funnel. I just realized with the information that we're giving to people that you can move so much faster if you've got the whole thing. And so that's why I decided to invest, to work with a coach and to implement getting deadline funnel into an evergreen funnel, so that we are always launching without launching. And the idea was that I could sit back, drinking coffee on my settee and just watch it all happening.
And so how's that, now that you have it set up, is that working the way that you wanted it to?
We were amazed really how well it worked. So we put all the pieces in place, and the deadline funnel was one of the easiest pieces to put in place, and I don't have to touch it. That's one of the bits of the funnel that just always works. I can't remember the last time I logged into deadline funnel, possibly when I set it up. You don't have to tweedle with it. It's just always there, which is great. And what happened was we then put through the funnel everybody who was on the list who'd been through a couple of the previous lives. We started this in, was it July? I think it was July, August. Yes, it was July. We turned on this funnel. And so I just thought, right, okay, I'll put through. So gradually I put through everybody on the list, because some had been through the previous launch in May. So I thought, well, that's enough time. So we put everybody through this automated funnel. So we had, I think it would have been, I'm not sure how many, I should have got this ready, but we put everybody through. It wasn't more than 1,000. We had a conversion rate, because I worked it out, of 3%, which we were happy with, because the bits of our funnel are not perfect. So the webinar is not perfect. We're gradually going to replace the different elements, but all different parts of it. The landing pages could be improved. There's lots of things that we could evolve. But what I loved about it was that, 10 to 12 people were joining every month. And also the other thing it meant was we could welcome people better, because as people were coming in ones and twos, we can welcome into the group better, make sure that they've got everything they need as they're joining the course and joining the group. So I think it made it a better experience, rather than having 30 people coming on at once. We've got different people coming in, because that was another barrier, because I didn't know how it was going to work with different people coming in at different times, whereas previously we took everyone through the 6 weeks. Initially it was 6 weeks, it's now 8 weeks, but we took everyone through together. So on all the live calls, we're talking about the content that's relevant to that specific bit. Right. But then I thought, how's it going to work for Evergreen? But we've totally changed it so that it does now work with the...
So talk to me about that. How do you, what sort of methods are you using so that as people come in, that they're integrating into your calls?
Yeah, so what we do is we use our email software. We've got ActiveCampaign to automatically email them. So when they join, they get automatic emails that welcome. They get, when on the thank you page, there's a video welcoming them, explaining them what to happen and how to log in, and that we're so excited for them coming on board. And then they get some emails telling them their live call dates and everything. And then I have a VA, and so she's got a few tasks to make sure that they're in the group, to send them a personal message within Gmail to say that they would have received these 3 emails and she's there to help them, and anything else they need, or if they haven't received the automated emails, to let us know. And then once they're in the Facebook group, they get a personal message in there where they're invited to say why they joined and what they're hoping for. And Then you don't have to have a live element to your course, obviously. We chose to have a live element to our course. So every week we have live online calls. Um, and so they, in active campaign, it gives them, well, it will be 12, at the moment it's 8. It's automated emails to invite them to those calls for 12 weeks. Then at the end of their time in the actual course, it then offers them um, the what's it called? There's a group, you can stay on in the group
Sure.
afterwards and get other things. Um, and it's all part of the automated email campaign.
So when you do a live call, are there some people who have just joined versus some people have
Yeah,
been in for several weeks? So how do you do a live call that's not too advanced for the new people or
yeah,
too rudimentary, too
yeah.
basic? How do you do that?
Yeah, that was my concern.
Mhm.
So what we do now is we basically, over the time that they're with us, they do two things. One is they set up their business, and two, they start marketing and speaking to people and getting deals. So um, really, we realized there's two key elements. So the setting up the business and the marketing and negotiating. And so we alternate each week so that there's a focus on one or the other. So one week is the focus on the business builder call. The next week is the magnetic marketing call. So whatever stage people are at, they can choose to go to all of them or they can go to some of them. If they come to a business builder call and they've got a marketing question, obviously we're still going to answer them.
Mhm.
But it just gave a structure to it, and so that people knew what to expect.
That's great. So here's an idea. I don't know if this will be useful for you, but hopefully someone watching this will be able to use this. So there was a thought leader, business expert named Rich Sheffrin years ago. He did something similar where he had people coming in all the time. And so let's say over the course of the year, there was 12 modules. And so I said, Rich, how are you doing your live calls? Because he would do live calls twice a month. How are you doing your live calls? Because someone might be asking a module 10 question, and then
Yeah,
someone has just joined with module one. He said, well, what,
yeah,
what we do. So first of all, he would set up his calls where, let's say it's an hour. The first half was him just lecturing, and then the second half was Q&A. But when he got to the Q&A, if someone asked a question, he said,
sorry.
oh, that's okay.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
said
go
he
on.
said if they ask the question at whatever level they ask the question at, advanced, medium, or beginner, I would answer it at that level and then try to also answer it for the rest of the people. So he would, if it's an advanced question, he would answer it. Then they say, now if you're just new, that might sound a little advanced. So here's what you need to be thinking about. You need to be thinking about X, Y, and Z. And so he would segue into what beginners or someone who's intermediate should be thinking about. And so he tried to make those answers applicable to everyone.
Yeah, that's a brilliant way to do it.
Yeah.
But the thing that I offer to people who are in that situation that I was in, where you're kind of resistant to the idea of going evergreen and having people joining all the time, is that people have done it.
Mhm.
It absolutely works. People have done it and are delivering courses that are getting great results to people on an evergreen
Yeah.
basis. So there is a way to deliver the results that you want on an evergreen basis. Just need to find out, what it is.
And you pointed out something that I've written about before, which and I want to make sure that we emphasize this, is that there's the positive side of doing a big launch is that you have lots of revenue coming in. However, now you have a surge of clients that are looking for hand holding and support. Whereas when you're getting people coming in on a regular basis, as those numbers start to grow and grow, as your advertising reach begins to grow, you can hire additional people. It's a
Yeah.
steady kind of increase rather than like, oh, all of a sudden we've got a flood of new people and then nothing. It's a lot steadier. Is that, I see you nodding
Oh,
your head. Is that accurate?
absolutely, absolutely. And the other thing is, you may not get a flood of people. So you may put all of this time, effort, dedication, production, energy, emotions into a launch that doesn't deliver for you. And there's every chance of that, especially if you've got a smaller audience. And especially if you're not advertising, but even if you are. So what I like now is that we can put our energy into delivering results for our students rather than into marketing for new students, because that's happening automatically.
Right.
So what happened originally was we were just organic traffic coming from YouTube and the Facebook group, as I say, very small. And we were making £10,000 a month at that stage. So we were absolutely delighted because, as I say, this has only turned on from July and August. So this is the third month. But what we've decided now is that this isn't enough because we've only got 5 people. It's trickled down because at the beginning I put everybody through the list. So now what I realized recently, about 10 days ago, is we've got 5 people on average joining the emailing list, so the funnel. And that's not enough because say if you've got a conversion rate between 1% and 3% and you want at least 10 people to join every month, it means you need at least, is it at least 100? Is it at least 1,000? You need 100 people for every sale. So you need 1,000 people every month to be joining your emailing list. And obviously, when your conversion gets better, you can do it with fewer. But I thought, how can we get to from 5 people a day, which is 150 a month? Yes, I think so. Or how do we get from 150 a month to basically 10 times it to 1,000, 1,500 in the first instance? And obviously advertising is one of the answers to that question, and we decided to try Facebook ads. So I've been doing that for 10 days. So it's very new, and that's been exciting as well. So I did a little course for that as well, because Facebook ads is not something that's easy to understand. But with the course, I was able to put up the ads, and it's been really good. So originally I think I put up 4, and I'm still running 2, and the 2 are doing so well. I mean, I worked out the 7-day totals. So I had in 7 days previously, the previous 7 days before I started the ads, I had 37 people joining to the mailing list. And the next 7 days, once I'd switched on the ads, I had 137 people join the mailing list. And those leads were coming in. Some of the other ones that I switched off were more expensive, so I switched them off. But these leads are coming in at under $3. So when I look, they're like between $2.30 and $2.90
Oh,
odd.
that's great.
So we're really chuffed with it. So I'm just at the phase where I've been testing it for about 10 days, and I think now is the time to, based on the evidence from those tests, is to put a few more on it to put.
Well, let me quick free advice. Make sure that you do not pause those working ads. Like, keep them running, because Facebook doesn't like it when you're dialed in with really good low cost leads and the conversions are great. No matter what's going on, if you got to change your funnel, don't pause the ads.
Right.
Cause
Okay.
it's really challenging. You'll find that when you start things back up again, things are not going to be working the same as they were. So
brilliant.
Yeah. So is there anything else about your journey that you want to share that we haven't talked about? Anything that would be helpful for someone who is just beginning their online course creation journey?
I think so. I think basically you can do it. You absolutely can do this. You don't need to be an online expert or technical or young even, because I started the first business, which has been going for 3 years, when I was 45. So you don't, people sometimes let all of these things put them off. Oh, I'm too old, or I don't know technical things, or whatever. You can absolutely do it, and it's less complicated than you think, and more exciting than you think. And within a year, because we're not even to the end of the year, and we have a small community, as I say, and we will have made over £100,000 in the business. I think we're sort of about £90,000 at the moment.
Fantastic.
And it is. And we're just in the process of looking at these ads and so on. And I'm sure that once we get into our groove, with the ads, that that we will, take things to the next level with the course. So I really encourage people to do it. to take the first step. You know, I think is it Martin Luther King who says, take the first step even if you can't see the whole staircase.
Mm,
Take the first step.
yeah. And I love your advice and your attitude about you may not know it, but someone has figured this out. And so not only can you figure it out, but sometimes you can bring someone onto your team who knows the answer, you know? So
Yes.
whether you're hiring them for a part-time project or they're going to become a permanent part of your team, you know, for example, if you're not a technical wizard, yeah,
Yes.
you could learn to become maybe not a wizard, but you could learn the tech. But another alternative is that if you do really well at the parts of your business that you excel at, you're working in your genius zone of genius, then you have your business coming along, then you can afford to bring someone onto your team who fills those roles, fills in those gaps of knowledge
I
and
love
expertise.
that. I love that. And that is another thing, you know, that many people are resistant to. We've sort of got over the hurdle because we have got staff in our main property business. Um, and I do have a VA in this business. But as you said, there are so many areas where I could bring somebody in who really knows their stuff.
Mhm.
And it would release so much of my time and energy. And I think that's one of the next steps for us to do that. And really not be limited by what I don't know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So one of the things, again, a little bit of free advice is what in my opinion, the way to do it is to really try to hire top level A players. You know, it's more money, but it's always worth it. Now, sometimes it's a bit of a search to find those A players, but finding an A player just really completely transforms your business. And when you have multiple A players, it's amazing what you can do. Then your job is really to get out of their way and to let them do what they're great at. And that's when things get really exciting.
yeah, I love that. I love that advice. And can I ask you, um, you've obviously worked with a lot of course creators and you've seen them, beginner people at my stage maybe. What would you say are some of the important next steps for me to take to go up in terms of either the people to hire or any other tips or guidance that you would
Yeah.
give?
So I'll just go a level deeper in what I was talking about. So you've taken the first and probably one of the more challenging steps, which is to develop your evergreen client acquisition. And the reason why that's so important is so that it's not based on launches. You still may do launches, and that's going to be additional revenue, but you know that your business has got X amount of dollars coming in. You can work on your landing pages. You talked about that before. You can tweak your landing pages. You can tweak a webinar. Like, you can improve things and test things and find things that are going to make the whole system better. But you know that you can reliably predict cash flow. If anything, it's going to go up. And so what that gives you the confidence to do is to go on the search for attracting talent, um, finding talent, attracting talent, and retaining talent. And so that's really where there's this switch that entrepreneurs and especially online course creators have to go through, where you go from the startup of, usually for most people, it's the hustle, it's the grind, it's the hustle, it's staying up late, it's doing things that are outside your comfort zone. That I'm not if someone's not a techie person, but they got to figure out how to do this techie thing,
Yeah.
and so you're wearing all these different hats, and you're wearing them multiple different times during the day. So
Yeah.
as things start to click, what you want to do is you want to bring in key players on your team. And sometimes that means hiring someone for a few hours a week. Sometimes that means hiring someone permanently. And so the more, but it should be a process of leveling up. You improve your business, you bring on team members, which improves your business. So you can bring on team members, which improves your business. And as you do this, one of the challenges that you're going to face is that you're going to go from being a solo entrepreneur to being the leader of a talented team. And so then it becomes a matter of how your personal development is going to really need to focus around growing your skills and talents as a leader. So for example, what I did was and part of it, I have to confess, some of it is luck, but I think a lot of my team members have been with me for 4 or 5 or more years, and so I think I'm doing some things right. And so one of the things, so as a general philosophy, I took everything that that was done to me at my last corporate job, and I said I'm just going to do the opposite. So, for example, at my last corporate job, managers would ask for our opinions, and I foolishly gave my opinion thinking that they actually wanted my opinion, but what they really wanted was for me to validate their opinion. And so what I've really done is I've fostered a culture where I'm not the smartest person in the room, and I want consenting viewpoints. A lot of times we go with their ideas, not my ideas, and there's no sacred cow. There's no one. I mean, I could say something and someone can say, well, actually, I don't agree with that. I think that that's wrong. And here's an article that backs me up, or my past experience just tells me that I think that you're wrong. And I love that. I don't want to be the smartest person on my team. I don't want to be the person with all the answers. I don't want to be the person who has to come up with all of the cool new features and the best ideas. And so I've hired a team that is extremely talented, and I've really tried to cultivate an environment where they are free to do what they want to do, and I mostly stay out of their way. And so really I look at myself as really being more on the board of directors of my business. So it's not even being the CEO, because the CEO is still kind of the boss. So whereas the board of directors is really meeting with the top level team members, or all the team members, and hearing, what are you, like, everyone understands the corporate culture, everyone understands what the goals are. So how are you guys doing? Is there anything that I can help with? Are there any obstacles that I can move out of your way? Are there any tools or resources or training that you need? Do we need to hire someone? And so really my job is to facilitate that. And one more thing that I'll mention is that I think it's really, really important to have the communication with your team, so that you're constantly looking to, how a lot of there's a lot of advice out there, good advice about how you need to constantly be looking at what you're doing and take, like, say, for example, $10 an hour types of tasks and, like, give that to someone else. And, like, as your business grows, you should be doing fewer $100 an hour tasks and doing more $1,000 an hour tasks. Like, keep adding more. One second. I think my team is trying to bump me out. But as you are, so where was I? So in the same way that you are supposed to be trying to focus more and more in your zone of genius, if you can do that for your team members and say, look, you shouldn't be doing, they're my right-hand guy. Look, you shouldn't be answering the support ticket, or you shouldn't be, writing this code. Like, we have developers that do this. You used to do that, but now I want to increase your pay and have you do stuff that's really in your zone of genius. And then you bring someone on who can take those things over. So you ladder everyone's, as you move up and you're focusing on your zone of genius, someone takes over that role and someone takes over that role, et cetera, et cetera. And so you keep moving people up. And so if you can do that, then what ends up happening is that people are getting paid more, just like you should be getting paid more and more for actually doing less and less. You're using more of your brain, but you're actually physically doing less and less. In the same way, everyone on your team should be getting paid more and more and actually doing less and less and enjoying what they do more and more.